Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we have in a Fiat 500 that needs a lower wishbone or lower control arm, whatever you want to call it, lower ball joint. Basically the rubber has slipped out, I'll show you in a minute, and it's making a horrendous knocking noise. But to do this, it's a little bit more complex than other ones because we have to remove part of the front bumper and part of the underbody bracing to get that arm out, which I'm going to show you how to do right now. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button, hit that subscribe button now, hit that like button, drop me a comment saying I subscribed and I will reply to each and every one of you. So the first thing you want to do is take your wheel off. This is the driver's side wheel for me. And we're just going to have a look in here, and that ball joint there, the rubber is coming out and it's creating a knocking noise onto the subframe when she's driving along. So to take that arm out, we need to remove this brace here to get the bolt that goes in that way. So to start off with, we're going to take out the screws for the inner wheel arch. You've got 4 Phillips screws there, and then you have a 30 Torx that goes into the bumper just there. Once we get those undone, we should be able to pull the bumper away and then hopefully get access to the bolts for the slam bar just around the front there. Once we can undo those, we can take off this little cross member here, which gives us access to this bolt that goes in this way here. So to get this bumper off, after we've undone a 30 Torx in here, it will release this part of the bumper. And then along the top here, you've got more 30 Torx bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the same underneath. So we're just going to release off some of those. We don't need to take the bumper completely off. I mean, you can if you want, but if we can release this corner enough so we can get the spanner or the socket onto those bolts that go into the cross member, that's absolutely fine. And with those 4 bolts off the top and the 4 off the bottom, the bumper will come away just enough. So now we can go up in the air and then we can get to those bolts that go in the cross member. Okay, so with the ramp up in the air, we can just move this wheel arch liner, just rest it on top of the disc there. It gives you all the access here. And just under here, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 15mm bolts that hold this onto there. So we get our 15mm. We're just going to undo each one of these bolts, and if yours are rusty like mine, a bit of WD-40 on the threads will help it come out. Okay, so that's all 4 of our bolts out here. I always start this end in case these are super seized in, and then you have to take the whole bumper completely off, get a bit of heat on there, but these ones are not too bad. So now we can move on to undoing the rest of our bolts. There's just 2 more here to take this cross member out of the way, and then we can get onto the lower arm. So get yourself 18mm socket. Mine's on an impact gun, but you can use a hand tool. Buzz them out like that. After you've taken these 2 out, you've got one 16mm bolt just here. Once that is out, we should hopefully be able to get our pry bar and get it moving. Just need to free it off on both ends. So now it's come away from there and there, we can just undo this support bar, which is again 2 16mm. And get that out of the way. Now this is completely loose. Because we're on the driver's side, I am gonna just undo the 10mm bolts that hold the washer bottle in place, just so we can slide it out towards us. Okay, so now we can just move that to the side. That bar just comes straight out like that. We can just leave the water bottle to one side. And now all of that work is just to get to this 15mm bolt that goes in this way to hold the lower arm. So once you've got to this position, you want to take out this bolt here, which I've already taken out. It's a 17mm. Then you've got one bolt in there, which looks to be like an 18mm. And then you've got one just here, which goes up again. Looks like an 18mm. So we're just going to undo those now. And then hopefully slide that lower arm out. And typically, when I want to just pop one off for a video, it becomes the tightest one in the world. There we go. So a little bit of WD-40. Obviously, people see these videos all the time and they think it's super easy. Sometimes it's not. In hindsight, I would have got that out first. Now we just use our lever bar to get this out, and you can see here that the rubber is up and it's not located properly in there, and that's causing our knocking noise. So now we have our shiny new one. We're gonna put that in the same as we took it out. So with that now in location, we can just tap that up. So our bolt will go through the little half moon section that holds it tight and clamps it. And then we can get our bolts back in there, but we're just gonna pop a little bit of copper slip on those because they were super rusty. Because they were rusty, I like to get these started by hand first, just so I know when I put the gun on, it's not going to chew the threads to pieces. What I'm going to do now is just preload the suspension. So you jack the suspension up to a rough driving height, and then you do your bolts up, so you don't put excess pressure on the rubbers. It'll make them wear out a lot faster, and your customer won't be happy. Just gonna put our nut and bolt back in there first. So we just take the load off of the bushes, and then we're going to do them up. them done up, then we can release the pressure back off. So now we've got our bolts done up here and here. We can leave that one for a little while. We're going to put our brace back in, get all the bolts for that, and then start the rebuild process. Again, we're going to start all the bolts by hand, a little bit of copper slip if they were super rusty. Try and help out the next guy. Okay, so that's all of our bolts in loosely and started by hand. So now we can tighten them all down and then carry on. Okay, so now that's all of the bolts done for the subframe arm, the lower arm, the support brace. Now we're just gonna pop back in our water bottle or washer bottle. So that's our washer bottle back in place. So now we need to bring the vehicle back down, pop the front bumper back on how it should be, and start to put the screws in for that. Okay, now we're ready to pop the bumper back on. So we just slide the bumper back into place. It has these little locating lugs in the wing here. So you just want to make sure you get those lined up. Just knock that back into place, and then we can put our 30 Torxes back in. Okay, that's now all of our Torx bolts back in at the front. So we do have one inside the wheel arch here, and this one we're just going to get started by hand. Once that's done up, your front bumper is now secure. So there you have it. We've got to the same point that when I started the video. Obviously you don't need to see me put in some bolts in the wheel arch liner and put a wheel back on, but that's how you change your lower arm on a Fiat 500. And if you like this video, you found it helpful, please hit that subscribe button and drop a comment saying I subscribed, and I'll reply to every single one of you with the massive thanks and support that you're giving the channel so far, which I deeply appreciate more than you can imagine. So thank you very much. See you in the next one.